Hey YouTube, it's Trey again. I decided to take a break real quick and go through and look at the comments on some of my videos I made, and I read through and I responded to some, and I thought that this was an interesting one because I actually had someone that commented on one of my videos about all he sees here in the Philippines are lazy Americans. And since, I've been out all day doing stuff and definitely not being lazy, packing up my stuff and taking a break at this point, I figured I'd come out here and sit down and respond to those. So bear with me, this is really on the fly and just a thought that I had, and I was like, you know what, let me make a video about that. So here I am on a rainy day that it's in the Philippines. It rains all the time here. Here, I'll show you. Let's see. As you can see, it's definitely cloudy, dark, and everything. But I'm out here, because I'm packing and getting my stuff ready to move. So this particular comment said that he didn't see any Filipinas chasing older men. All he ever saw was old men, lazy Americans mostly, chasing young Filipinas. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, that's an interesting perspective on things. But he definitely called out mostly Americans are lazy over here. And I started to think, it's like, think about this. Most of the Americans that I see over here, which is not the majority, there are quite a few, but not the majority, they had to have money to get over here. Which means they had to go and earn that money somehow. And nobody seems to be giving out any free money to any of us, especially men. Just saying. So to me, in order for that American to get over here, spend the money for a plane ticket, get a place to live, he had to do something to earn that money. But let's dig a little deeper into that, okay? Not only do you have to work extremely hard in America. I mean, blue-collar America is pretty much what makes America work. Those elites that, make those millions and millions of dollars, or those billionaires, they're less than 1% of the population there. So, and if you understand how the tax system works, middle-class America, those hard-working individuals, they're the ones that are out there making the money, paying the taxes, and trying to make a living, supporting their families, doing whatever they need to do. They're not lazy. I mean, I personally was working 2 jobs, 3 jobs at some points, working 80-plus hours a week. I was in the military. I worked for the government in a blue-collar job. I also had a little side hustle. I was delivering pizzas. I was making money. I was investing my money into the stock market. I was buying. I was selling. I was saving. I was doing all kinds of things in order to make my money. But that money had to come from somewhere, and it wasn't sitting on my butt. Well, the second part of this guy's comment is that all he ever saw, because he lived in the U.S., so I'm going to guess he was from another country. Filipinas, all he ever saw was they worried about their families and working, and they were the hardest working individuals. Well, those of us in America that had any interaction with Filipino people there in America, OFWs, or people that immigrated or whatever the case is, We know that they're hardworking. We saw them do it. We had to do it ourselves. Interesting, though, is that the next part about the conversation in this pretty long, I guess, comment is that he never saw a Filipina in the U.S., a young Filipina, chase an older man. Well, common sense would tell you, yeah, you're probably right. You never saw a young Filipina in America chasing an older man. But what he failed to mention is that we all know about younger girls going after older guys in America. Call them gold diggers, call them whatever you want to call them. They are who they are. They're misguided, but they do go after older men. But they're looking for those millionaires, those billionaires, that top 1%. You don't see too many going after that middle-class guy. Although, as I stated before, a couple of years ago, there was this trend where they were wanting the dads because they were set in life. They had the car, they had the house, they had all that other fun stuff. Basically, it was ready-made. That's a real thing. Because the younger men didn't have the job yet. They weren't stable, they weren't secure. You know, they didn't have any money because they were just starting out in life. Can't make this up, guys. But if you understand that when you're out there and you are busting your butt, making a living, doing what you're going to do just to get by, you're living week paycheck to paycheck. You're raking and scraping. You're taking care of your family. If you got kids, if you're married, you know, whatever the case is, you're doing whatever you can. And since the majority of people that I see coming to the Philippines are men, I just think that that's just total bullshit. I'm not saying there's not lazy Americans, because God knows, we all know that are from America. There are lazy Americans. Too many of them. But in my opinion, one is one too many. But that doesn't change the fact, because you don't see those people coming over here to the Philippines. Those lazy people that don't have money, can't afford to pay their bills, can't afford a plane ticket, you know, mooching off of anybody they can. None of those people are here. Let's just be real. They couldn't afford the plane ticket, much less they can't get a job here, and they can't mooch off the people here. They're not coming here. That's not why they're, you know, it's just not true. I'm not saying one or two don't slip through the cracks, but majority just doesn't. That's just not how it works. I would say that to even think that all you see is lazy Americans in the Philippines is the majority, when obviously they couldn't have been that lazy if they got enough money to come here and live. They may have worked their whole lives, lived paycheck to paycheck, and living off of Social Security, but they weren't lazy. They still had to earn that Social Security. And which that means that, you know, they worked 40, 50 years just to get to this point. I just don't think that you understand the concept of what hard work is, especially in America, because they don't care. You come to do your job, you do what you're told, you do everything and anything. And if you're successful at it, that means you buckled down. You made your way. You sucked it up, seriously. You embraced it, and you did what you had to do. You worked those overtime hours. You stayed and worked late. You volunteered to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And trust me, from personal experience, it would have been much better for me to stay home. Spent more time with my kids. Worked on my personal relationships. things of that nature. But we all know in America, there are younger women that go after older men there. It's just not your average guy. And your average guy can come over here after working and saving or retiring and live pretty decently. He can have that middle class life or something better than what he could get on that retirement back home. I think that's why most of them come over here. Dating younger Filipinas, yeah, that is what it is. That's just really a whole topic that has been beat to death, honestly. But I do say this. The dating pool here is wide open for everyone here. Regardless of your age, your race, anything else. You know, if you got something to provide or, you know, you're a halfway decent person, it's very easy. The standards aren't set like in America, where you got to be a millionaire or you got to make that six-figure income in order to get a woman to look at you. I'm not saying all women are that way, but it sure seems like there's a lot more of them than there used to be. Or they just hit it really well. Either way, that doesn't matter. But you know what? Let me say one last thing. The majority of people that I have met over here are not American. Here's the truth. I've met more people from the UK, more people from Australia, and more people from China, and more people actually from Ireland than I have met Americans. Not saying they're not here, because they are. But just keep in mind, there are many, many people from all over the world that are coming here, staying here, visiting, being tourists, whatever the case is. It's not just Americans. I see more American YouTubers posting videos than I do any other country. That's just the way it seems. Maybe it's just the algorithm, maybe it's just my feed, whatever the case is. So I think the perspective of understanding that they're all mostly Americans and they're lazy, man, I think you need to think twice about that one. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here. I gotta go back to work. I got more packing to do. It's gonna be a busy week. All right, peace, guys.